Hello, everyone. Today, I want to open up about something that, for many people, sounds like a very unusual hobby. Although calling it just a hobby probably isn't quite fair. It's more like a calling, something deeply personal and meaningful. I'm a surrogate mother. Yes, I carry someone else's baby, and I do get paid for it. But at the core of it, I see it as an act of service, a real chance to help people who, without this option, would never be able to become parents. I've always had this need to give, to help. For some people, purpose comes through career, others through creativity, but I've always felt drawn to supporting people in any way I could. It started early. When I turned 18, the very first thing I did was sign up as a blood donor. Just giving something that might actually save a life, that felt natural to me. As I got older, I became more aware of responsibility and what it really meant to offer part of myself to help someone else. Eventually, I decided to take a bigger step and became an egg donor, which means somewhere out there in some American family, kids share my genetics. That surprises people, but to me it felt very normal. Another way to give a chance to those who desperately needed it. About a year and a half later, I realized I was ready for an even larger commitment, surrogacy. And trust me, I didn't jump into this blindly. I started seeing a therapist, working through fears, doubts, emotional risks. My biggest concern was the obvious one. What if I get attached? What if it's too hard to let go? And honestly, that fear is absolutely normal. But after months of processing, I felt truly grounded and ready. And now, here I am, currently 12 weeks pregnant in a surrogate journey. Everything started pretty straightforward. I walked into a fertility clinic and basically said, I want to be a surrogate. From that moment, a whole chain of medical evaluations began. Requirements are strict here in the U.S. Ideal health, proper BMI, no chronic conditions, no smoking or drugs, psychological stability, and so on. You go through blood work, ultrasounds, genetic screening, mental health assessments, everything. And you must already have at least one child of your own, and they need to be healthy. Clinics need to see that your body has been through pregnancy before and handled it well. Once all the tests are done, I fill out a long profile, where I live, what I do for work, my interests, lifestyle habits, photos, everything. Then intended parents review these profiles and choose the surrogate they feel comfortable with. A lot of people don't understand why appearance or personality matters, but from their perspective, they're trusting another woman with the most precious part of their lives. Of course, they want someone who feels right. Almost all intended parents in the U.S. have gone through years of infertility, countless IVF cycles, miscarriages, surgeries, a long emotional and financial journey. Surrogacy becomes their final chance, not a whim. This isn't because they don't want to ruin their body. It's because they literally can't carry a pregnancy safely. After matching, doctors sync your cycle with the embryo transfer. Transfer is the moment when the embryo, created from the intended parent's genetic material, is placed into my uterus. And this is important. I have no biological connection to the baby. None. Genetically, I'm not the mother. I'm the person who gives the baby a safe place to grow. After the transfer, small monthly allowances begin, basically for food, maternity essentials, gas for clinic appointments. I stay in constant contact with a case manager or attorney who handles communication, medication instructions, legal aspects, and everything else. At 12 weeks comes the big prenatal screening, a detailed ultrasound that checks the baby's health. After that, I officially begin prenatal care just like any pregnant woman, except I also have legal support guiding the entire process. I personally have a fairly relaxed arrangement. I live in my own home, go to work, keep my usual lifestyle. The only rules are staying within a certain radius of my clinic and sending occasional photo updates. It's all about reassurance, making sure I'm healthy and the baby is safe. But I know some surrogates who live under stricter contracts, relocated to apartments paid for by the intended parents, monitored more closely, limited in travel or activities. It really depends on the agency and the match. And one more thing. I've never met the intended parents in person, and I probably never will. The contract requires anonymity, which honestly protects both sides. I know nothing about their personal lives, and they know me only through my profile. It keeps emotions clean, boundaries clear, and avoids complicated attachments. To be honest, a lot of people have this strange idea that surrogacy is some sort of easy money. But when you actually go through it, you realize it's far from simple. Yes, compensation is part of the process. For some, it's an opportunity. For others, it's a calling. But at the end of the day, a surrogate gives her body, her health, her time, and that deserves to be valued. In my case, I already have a stable job that I'm not planning to quit. I still work almost every day, balancing my pregnancy with my normal routine. And realistically, it's incredibly hard to earn the amount a surrogate earns in such a short period through a regular job, especially for women who don't have specialized skills or higher education, which is often the case in smaller towns across the U.S. So many American surrogates I've met are single moms or women from rural areas who want to provide a better life for their kids. They're not greedy or selling a baby. Mo, they're using an opportunity that helps everyone involved: their family, the intended parents, and the child who gets a chance to be born. Almost every surrogate I've spoken to admitted that yes, the motivation was largely financial. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. In the U.S., surrogacy is legal in many states but still heavily stigmatized. People don't want to talk about it. And when they do, they whisper, like it's something shameful. It's similar to how people treat anything outside the traditional mold: LGBTQ issues, egg donation, IVF. If you don't fit into the narrow path society expects, you're automatically judged. But the truth is, all of these things, IVF, donor programs, reproductive technology, exist because science evolved, because people needed help, because families wanted children. And what is wrong with that? Not everyone can conceive naturally. Not everyone can carry a pregnancy safely. If modern medicine gives people away, why should anyone shame them for using it? Some people tell me, well, you're getting paid, so it's not from the heart. And I always respond calmly, I'm giving my health. I'm giving months of my life. I'm taking on physical risk. Why should that be free? It doesn't make the intention less meaningful. It just acknowledges the reality of what pregnancy actually requires. I always remind myself why I'm doing this. This baby is not mine. He or she belongs to a loving family who has been waiting for years, and my job is simply to help bring that child into the world. I even talked openly with my own son. I explained that the baby isn't ours and will go home with their parents, and children are amazingly perceptive. They mirror your emotions. If you speak calmly, they stay calm. Mine just shrugged and said, "Oh, cool. Want to go play now?" That was it. Zero drama. Some people call surrogates incubators, but honestly, every pregnant woman is an incubator in some sense. The difference is simply genetics. I'm not the mom of this baby. I'm the carrier, the helper, the one who gives the child a safe place to grow until the parents take over. There are other things most people don't think about, like postpartum depression. Many assume it happens because a surrogate gives up the baby, but that's not usually the cause at all. Postpartum depression often comes from exhaustion, sleepless nights, and constant infant care. Something surrogates don't go through. Intended parents take the baby immediately. I'll have time to rest, recover, sleep. Something I didn't get when I had my own child. Another important part, I won't breastfeed the baby or pump milk. In most U.S. surrogacy arrangements, feeding starts with the parents from day one. This creates a clean emotional separation and helps the surrogate transition back to her own life without confusion or lingering attachment. If a woman came to me and said she's thinking about becoming a surrogate, my biggest advice would be, prepare emotionally. Don't go into it just for the money. Talk to a therapist, understand your boundaries, and make sure you feel grounded. And also, consider your job. Not every employer or work environment allows you to comfortably stay pregnant for 9 months. For intended parents, I'd say this: choose someone you trust, Some couples even choose a friend or a relative as their surrogate. It happens quite often in the US. But whoever it is, make sure she's emotionally stable, responsible, and genuinely ready for the journey. And understand that you can't control every step of her life. She's still a human being with her own family, her own needs. For me personally, the biggest reward is knowing that I'm truly helping someone. That fills me with joy. It gives my life extra meaning. It feels like I'm making the world just a little bit kinder. The downside? Well, pregnancy is physically demanding, that's the truth. But unlike a typical pregnancy, a surrogate is compensated for that sacrifice. It doesn't erase the difficulty, but it balances it. Surrogacy is still a taboo topic for many Americans, but the more openly we talk about it, the faster people will understand that it's not something shameful. It's just another path to creating a family. And families come in all forms. And yes, I'm wearing a mask. Not because I'm embarrassed, but because my attorney strongly recommended keeping my identity private. It's simply safer that way. Anonymity protects both me and my family. If my story helps at least one person understand surrogacy better or makes someone feel less alone, then sharing this was absolutely worth it. And if someone disagrees, that's okay. People learn and grow at their own pace. Some sooner, some later.